Bees are humming on the honeysuckle vine. Sleep, Kentucky Bay. Sam and Emma pining for this little babe of mine. Sleep, Kentucky Bay. Silver moon is shining in the heavens up above. Bobolink and pining for this little lady love. You is mighty lucky, babe from old Kentucky. Close your eyes and sleep. Fly away. Fly away, Kentucky babe. Fly away to rest. Fly away. Lay your little woolly head on your mama's breast. Close your eyes and sleep.
And we wanted to celebrate your bicentennial. I think that's one of our jobs is to call attention to the history of the region, and anniversaries, particularly 200th anniversaries, have a way of focusing things. 200 years is a long time, and we want to celebrate that. Our communities, it's the strength of the communities, the strength of the families that have maintained life here for 200 years, and life that has developed in a very positive way. You know, people are good people. That's one thing I found coming here. People here are really nice people.
We want to welcome all of you here to the Hickman County Historical and Genealogical Society. My name is Tom Bugg. We have several of our local members here today, and we really appreciate the Jackson Pruchase Club taking the time to come down and visit us, and another chance to get put on the map, which is always important for little towns like ours. Thank you for coming.
Perfect.
They've asked us to present some information about the bicentennial that we did here in the county, which we were very proud of. It kind of came up at the last minute. Nobody was really thinking about it, I don't think. And then suddenly it dawned on them that the 200th anniversary was here. And so pretty much everybody went into high gear to try to get it prepared. We started out with seeking a different way of thinking about what we're doing, and someone came up with a slogan, "A view of the past, a vision of the future, 1821 to 2021 for our bicentennial." In terms of the way of getting this sort of thing done, you got to have a planning committee at the front of the thing to get everybody in together and in the same vein. And so what we did, the chamber primarily asked several different people from various organizations, associations, government entities, etc., to send out some folks to be a planning committee, and we would meet about once a week at different places, usually for lunch, where the particular person who was on the planning committee, we usually met in homes, would feed the rest of us, which that was very nice. And so that kind of reminds me, of us Baptists, we tend to always want to eat when we're doing something like that. So it's just the way it is. There were 7 of us that finally ended up being the core committee, that went from home to home to do the planning. We had, let's see, 4 women, 2 black men, and me. So we had a fairly diverse group, which I was pleased with when we did that. Getting started. Well, the first thing that we started working on was a kickoff day, which ended up being scheduled for Saturday, September the 21st. We decided to do it on the court square out in the open air. Of course, COVID was still on an issue at the time, but because we were outside and separated, we thought we could get the job done, and we had quite a few people. One of the things that I was supposed to do, and the chairman of the committee, who happens to be my cousin, she said, I want you to do a short history, just a short one. Short. I said, okay, short. Well, that's what I did. And I had several people that were providing me information that they thought was important for sort of a short kickoff. This is how Hickman County came about. And I had some folks that were real graduated historians, some people who are more folk lore related folks who were providing me information, but then it was supposed to be short. So that took a little while to figure that out. And then when I did, and we got there, and it was short, because that's what Sherry told me to do, is make it short. And I had another cousin to come before I started speaking and say, well, we came today just to hear you. And I said, well, you're not going to get to hear me much, because I was supposed to be short. So anyway, but we had the kickoff. Brother Eugene McDonald opened with prayer. He's a black pastor here in town that we all think an awful lot of. His daughter, Howard Dillard, who was a councilman here and recently died, his daughter sang the national anthem for us. Barry Patrick, who is a fellow that a lot of people use, he's a fantastic pianist, and his family sings, I think, at some of the churches and things around. He accompanied Miss Dillard when she sang, and he also provided background music before and after the little kickoff meeting there on the court square. I think a lot of people were excited that we had that much activity around the court square that particular day. Then Councilman Howard Dillard, that I was just talking about, read a proclamation that had been prepared calling attention to and lifting up the issue of our 200th anniversary. And at that point, the county judge executive, Mr. Kenny Wilson, we made a big display of him signing that proclamation as part of the startup that day. And then I did my short history. But the thing that really was a surprise to me, we have the First Methodist Church here in Clinton, that has a sort of a carillon that rings the hour and the quarter hour and half hour and etc. and will play music at some of those times throughout the day. I never really didn't remember hearing it just play bells like you see on TV or something, where they're just ringing bells in the rafters and stuff. And then the First Baptist Church here, which was built in 1962 or 3. I think we moved in 63. We used to have a loudspeaker system that would ring bells and play music and things like that as people came in to Sunday school, etc. Hadn't heard anything out of that in, I don't know, a long time, maybe 30 years, I don't know. But that day when as we were finishing this outdoor kickoff, Sherry said, well, now everybody wait, don't leave just yet. And all those bells at both churches started ringing. It was the neatest thing. I had no idea that it was going to happen or what she was waiting for, and I don't know how she got it done. But anyway, it was really neat to stand on the court square and hear the church bells ringing. That was pretty neat. And I think historically, that's something you think about in older times. I remember my grandmother, when she lived in in the country had a dinner bell that she would ring to let people know that it was time to come eat. She had it ready. And I'm sure there were a lot of other people that had the same kind of thing. After we did our little kickoff on the square, we were very glad to have an antique car show. Now, I've worked in this county trying to get an antique car show since about 1978. And we used to have one or two really active members of antique car clubs in this county. And yet, we just almost couldn't get any together. It just, anytime you were the chamber would try to do it, other associations would try to do it. Well, I'm happy to say that Liz Jewell, who was on the committee, managed somehow to get all kinds of antique cars around the court square in Clinton. It was amazing that she was able to get that many. Many of them, few of them local, and several of them from other places that I didn't know the people. And so after the kickoff, tenants were free to view those cars, and we also had a number of food trucks available that were around, and people had lunch. It was just a really great day, and I was glad we got started in such a significant kickoff. It wasn't something that was just fly by night. We had countywide activities around the whole county. We have been having an old hymn sing, they call it, for a number of years now. We've missed a year or two with the COVID, and this was one of the years that it got canceled. But what we do with the old hymn sing, we invite the different churches and individuals to come in, and several of them perform different. Everything has to be a song printed, developed and printed before 1953, I think. And so that's what we did. And of course, some folks remember the Cokesbury hymnal that our grandmothers sang out of, and lots of those are used. There's an old Baptist hymnal that a lot of people have sung out of when they were very young. I was. And a lot of those old hymns and things that we remember from those days are sung at that particular celebration, which we have annually, or have been having annually. And we had hoped to make that part of our bicentennial, but we didn't quite get to because of the COVID issue. One small church that was moving to a new location, and so they became part of the celebration by having their ribbon cutting on September 26th. The county observed a county-wide cemetery cleanup with various groups cleaning up various cemeteries in Hickman County. This was neat. I have grandparents at Salem, which is out on 307, it's a Methodist Church cemetery. I have great-grandparents there and great-great-parents there. And then I have great-grandparents at Rock Springs, which is down toward Fulton County. And a lot of those small church cemeteries are struggling to be able to have enough money to mow. Mm-hmm. It's a pretty typical problem, I think. And so one of the things that we did as a county is people went out and started cleaning up some of these old cemeteries. They went into the Clinton Cemetery here in town, which was not in bad shape because, in fact, it was in pretty good shape because the city keeps it up. But they still went in and did some things with regard to some old monuments that maybe were leaning or something, those sort of things. And then they had a drive-through, and it was very successful. They had, hot chocolate and coffee and things for people. And we had a whole lot of people that drove through the cemetery there that day. The Woman's Club and the local library, which the Woman's Club is kind of the foundation of the local library, hosted a sit-a-spell on the library lawn. We invited people to bring their lawn chairs and blankets and sit on the ground on the blanket. And we had several folks that told stories about the county in earlier days. I know Liz Jewell read from one of her mother's books, Miss Virginia Jewell, which some of you may be aware of. She's a published author, has 3 or 4 books, I think, of old tales going way back in Hickman County, and Liz read one of those. I think that gets that one. Civil War Days is big here. I went down this year. I told my wife there was a good crowd, but I don't think it was quite as good as maybe it's been sometimes in the past. We made a very, very special attention to that Civil War Days, the year of our 200th anniversary. We had lots of folks involved. Laura Poole, again, one of the members of the steering committee, arranged for a group which she calls the gang. I'm not sure what the gang is, but that's what she called it, to set up an authentic historical kitchen at the main pavilion down at the park. And they were going to cook like in pots over fire and those kind of things, and have samples for people who might want to sample the kind of food that would have been eaten at the time that our county was established. So we're talking 1821. And that was part of Civil War Days that particular year, and I think a very important part of what we do here in the county. We've had holiday open houses in the county through the years, and off and on. The chamber has usually done it. We have folks that regularly go to other places where they have holiday type visits and open houses and see what goes on there, and then come back to Clinton and do similar things in Clinton. Excuse me. One of the things that they came up with many years ago was they changed the kinds of Christmas lights that we have in the county based on the way, well, I think the main place that they had been, that they brought this back from, was down at Nashville around the Opryland Hotel, the type of lights they had there, and they brought that idea back and changed some of our Christmas lights in town to those. But at this year of 2021, we decided as a committee that we'd have a holiday open house, and it would be different in that when we would go from place to place, it was like a progressive dinner. You go here for soup. Actually, you go here for mince, you go here for soup, you go here for main meal, you go here for dessert, etc. from the different places. And here at the center, we did punch and mince and nut. And I was really surprised. I thought we might have 15 people. I know because they signed in that we had at least 68. And I think there were a few more that filtered through that didn't sign in, so we may well have had 75 people to come through this facility that night, which I still can't get over, that we had that many people to actually come through. And especially given the fact that that year was the year of COVID. But we were very excited to have all our visitors. Other stops on the trail for this open house were the Hickman County Museum, the Belmont, which is a venue down at Columbus, close to the park, Iron Banks, which is at Columbus, Harper House, which is Lieutenant Governor Harry Lee Waterfield's home, that is now owned by Amy Harper Hogenkamp, and it's called the Harper House, and it's a bed and breakfast at this point. The Peary House, one of our citizens in the county, did some studying in culinary arts. I think most of it was at West Kentucky Technical College at Paducah. But she came back and her grandmother's house was empty out around Spring Hill, Kentucky. And she opened up the Peary House. That was her grandmother's last name, Miss Ruth Peary. And she often has luncheons that she caters for people and things like that. Relatively often, the circuit judge has the Bar Association to meet there for lunch and things like that. So they stopped by her house. And then the cabin at Bellwood, which is Carolyn Bones' residence, Bellwood is. And so people went from place to place. And one of the funny things that happened that night, we had kind of did the map. You start here, you go to the museum, and then you go. Well, we had quite a few people that started at the other end and came back, and instead of us being the first, we were the last. So the last shall be first, and the first shall be last. Advertisement was important, I think. There were lots of folks, local organizations, individuals that were posting things to Facebook and other websites to make people aware of what was going on and when it was going to happen. Gay Vincini, the editor and publisher at the Times, was very generous in her coverage of the events. She kept a block in her paper listing the events, the time, the place, all of them right down, and that was very, very helpful to us. I'm back to Sherry, my cousin. She started an article about the time we started preparing to do this, talking about the coming up Bicentennial celebration, and she's continued that in our community since. Excuse me. A real uplifting. This is out there. This is why Clinton and Hickman County are important. These are opportunities you had to be involved with the history of our county, those kind of things. And Gay continues to publish those pretty regularly. And Gay has been very, very good to us here at our historical center. Several of us write from time to time, and she's always willing to publish it for us. So we get some attention that way. I'm gonna it's supposed to be one. There we go. My undergraduate degree is in business administration, and so I like talking about business and thinking about business. And one of the things that I think is very important in our community and a lot of little communities around, we may not have that many people who live in our county, but as Brother Blair made the point one time, we have a $1 million mile that runs up through the county, Highway 51, and the millions of dollars worth of produce, equipment, big trucks that go up and down this street right in front of us here, brings a lot of traffic, not when it was when I was a child because of the interstate across the river, but still enough that it's millions of dollars that moves right here through Clinton and Hickman County. And so I like to say that we can do things like this historical center for tourism dollars. And we have some folks that come in fairly regularly. I have a third cousin in California who I'd never met who came to Hickman County to do some research on some of our common ancestors. She's from Southern California. She's a professor out there. And she has just been amazed at what we have here in this building and across the street in the county court clerk's office, etc. And so while she was here, she spent money here. When other visitors come through town and they stop in Clinton, they go over and eat lunch at Howell's, or they buy something at one of the variety stores, which we don't have as many as we used to. But they do things like that and spend money here, which helps our county. I'm going to jump the second dot and go to the third. The Chamber of Commerce sold T-shirts. I have mine on. I was worried this morning whether it was going to be warm enough for me to wear this without something else, but it's been fine. And they use that money with regard to, we've had some real issues to develop with the sidewalks around town. And as I understand it, they use at least some of that money from T-shirt sales to go in that direction. And by doing what we did, we hopefully increased activity around our town and county, which resulted in increased sales for various local businesses. And I think that's very important in my own mind. And then I'll drop back to the second one. With the financial help of the American Rescue Plan funds provided by our fiscal court for publishing costs, we sold 115 bicentennial books at $30, which made our society $3,450 in sales, and that's a lot of money to us to be able to get that much money out of something. Big places may think that's nothing, but for little old Clinton and Hickman County, that's a lot of money.
We agree.
And so we're glad that we were able to do that. And I have one more slide, and then I'm going to turn the lights back on because I'm going to come back more. The county provided us with this America Rescue Plan funds. I've been working fairly hard trying to get us some grants within the last couple of years. I've never done it much. I've been around it all of my working life, working with the county. But I'm finding that can be a lot of work, a whole lot of work. So anytime we can get any kind of grant money like that, it's helpful. And it was helpful here because it paid for the publishing. We didn't have to pay the publisher. And then what money we got from the books was our money. I mean, it was net profit. And so my last slide says a good time was had by all. I'm not sure who came up with that saying. I meant to look it up because you hear it every once in a while. I had a former pastor, Bob Long, was here for a number of years, and he would say that pretty often, I remember. And so I've kept that in mind. And then I'm going to turn the lights back on. And I've asked LaDonna to recognize some of our local historians who are members of our society and talk to you just a little bit about the book that earned the $38 million.
Go all the way to the microphone.
What's the
Go
chords?
trip on the waters.
I don't have any slides like Tom does. This comes right off the top of my head. This is our book. And we are really, really pleased with it. We had 7 of us that worked on this book. We had 7 weeks, I think, that we did it in, because we had to have it to the publisher a long time before we really needed the book. So we really just jumped in, and we sat back here at one of the tables, and we just kind of we all talked together, and we all decided, we made a list of things that we wanted in the book. Like we wanted church histories, people histories. We wanted special histories. We've got, Hickman County has a ship that's made, that is named for Hickman County, Kentucky. Agricultural, from 1821 to 2021. We just came up with all these things. We wanted something from every community in Hickman County. So what we did was, Pam, she took Spring Hill and Shiloh because that's where she lives. Tom did Clanton and Fulgham. Nisi and Denise, that's my cousin. That slipped out, Nisi. And Joe, they did the one on the agricultural part. They also did the part with the ships. Linda Hudson, she's not here today. She did Rock Springs, Bealerton, Jackson's Chapel. I don't know. She did several. And I did Columbus and Beulah, St. Denis, up that direction. That's where I live. My brother, who's also a member, he's a jack of all trades, you might say, but he has kept us going in lots of places. He's an electrician, or was an electrician. He has done all the repair work in here that needs to be done. On the book, he did a lot of research for us. When we needed something that we couldn't find, you know, we knew it was here someplace we couldn't find, Johnny found it for us. So we just started writing, and we met, I guess, about every week. And okay, how much have you got done? What do you need? Just went from there. When we got it all together, my brother, he took and put it on a junk drive, because that's the way we have to take it to the printers. And this was the result of it. We come up with several different, I don't know, we all did it differently. And that's what's kind of interesting in the book, because everybody did their section a little bit different. And so it makes very interesting reading. And we had 150 books printed. We sold 115 within 2 months. So we have been selling some along. So we are really pleased with it. I hope, you know, this will give you all some ideas of what to do. You can look at the book and see what's going on. Is there any questions or anything?
They're still available?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
If you give me the information, and I'll put it out on our Facebook page, and we'll send an email to our members how they can order it.
Sure. Be glad to. Yes. Yes.
And we'll be happy to help you sell out the
Good.
remaining copies. The nice thing about printing today is you probably can get it reprinted at a fairly reasonable.
Yes.
Once they have it in their computer.
Already.
It's
One thing that we have done, excuse me, I didn't mean to
no,
butt in. One thing that we have done is my brother does all the printing here, like the journal. Of course, we have lots of books that we have. I have like 4 or 5 that I've written. And he has now gotten to where he can print those books, and he can use the spiral bound. We have one of those now, which we didn't at the time. So it has really our costs have really gone down on lots of our books, because we had to send them to the publisher. Now, on most of these, we can do our own publishing
there you go.
because of,
Well, the cost of publishing has come down substantially. We've seen that with our journal. We send it off on the internet, and it's $3 or $4 a copy less than it used to be.
well, we do our own copying, and all we're out of is postage and, of course, the cost of paper and things like that. But we do our own. The lady, in fact, Linda, she brought it yesterday for the next quarter. And so, you know, we have really tried to cut down on a lot of our cost. So, turn it back to Tom.
A copy less than it used to be.
Well, we do our own copying, and all we're out of is postage and, of course, the cost of paper and things like that. But we do our own. The lady, in fact, Linda, she brought it yesterday for the next quarter. And so, you know, we have really tried to cut down on a lot of our cost. So, turn it back to Tom.
Was we wanted to get a banner, and Johnny really took the lead and got that done for us. He designed it, didn't he, himself? Yes. And he brought us in here one day, and he had 2 or 3 or 4 banners that he could put up here for us to look at, and this was the unanimous pick